Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Julie, and on this channel, we talk about becoming the best versions of ourselves. It's really just about looking at developing our self awareness of where we are now and thinking about what would be my next step, what would make me happier, what would make me the person that I want to be. Now, part of that journey for myself has been to look at some of the self limiting beliefs that I have about myself and trying to challenge them in some way. So, one of the things I started doing was to look at the things that hold me back, the things that get in my way of doing things. And one of the things that prevents me or holds me back from doing things that I want to do or think would be fun to do is that of being perfect. If it's not perfect, I can't do it. If it's not perfect, why even bother? And the problem is that when I focus on that perfectionism, I end up a lot of negative self-talk. And that's what I really want to focus on today is what are the stories that we tell ourselves that hold us back? And what can we do to change the narrative? So, one of the things is that, or there's several negative thoughts that will swirl around in my brain when I'm wanting to do something or when I'm looking at my tasks for the day. Part of that is one of the very common things that I would say about myself: I'm not enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not a good enough at. And the problem with that is that a lot of what we develop, these thoughts develop over time and they start in childhood. And what happens is we create these ideas of ourselves based on imperfect knowledge. As I said, we develop them in childhood, which means that we're looking at information we receive as a child and processing it through a child's brain, a child's understanding. But those thoughts stay with us even as we grow older. And it's not until we actually take a moment to think, what is the self talk that I have? And is this helpful? Is it beneficial? And so, two of the areas that I've started to tackle for myself is this idea that I'm not good enough and that everything I do must be perfect or I shouldn't do it. And so, I've tried to look at it from a few different angles. One of them is to be aware of what it is that goes on in my brain, why I'm sitting at my desk and unable to send an email or get started on a task. And a lot of times it's because I worry about the end result. The person is going to read this, receive this information from me, and it's not going to be enough. It's not going to be perfect. I'm going to make a mistake in some ways. And so, what happens is instead of just sending it and dealing with the issue, I procrastinate. Or worse, I don't do it. And what generally happens in those situations is that one, I don't do anything and the problem gets worse. And so, over the past couple of years, what I've tried to do is to understand why I feel that way, what it prevents me from doing, and what I can actually do that might help me to push through that. So, part of it is the story that I tell myself. And so, one of the things is that a lot of this negative self talk has been spiraling around in our heads for a very long time. And so to counteract that, you have to have a sort of a opposite thought to replace that or to challenge that or to give you somewhere else to go. And so part of that is I do it in my journaling. I wake up in the morning and I write, I first of all start with what I'm grateful for because it kind of puts you in the right frame of mind, sort of puts you into a positive space. And then I write two affirmations. The first one is that I am enough. That's it. I am enough. As I am here today, I am enough. on a channel that is talking about constant development. But that's the thing, is that I started this journey because I wanted to be enough. But on that journey, I've realized I am enough, but that doesn't mean that I still can't find areas for improvement. I still can't find areas that I personally would like to do better in. Now, some of those areas may be in saying no, or not doing things, or saying, you know what? This is enough. Part of that journey may be the absence of that movement forwards. I don't know. We're not at the end of the journey yet. Now, the other affirmation, and I started adding these one per year. So next year I'll have to come up with a new one. But the one that is for this year is I am beautifully imperfect. And this took me a lot of time to get right. And in fact, when I realized how much time I had invested in coming up with the perfect statement about perfection, I had to laugh at myself. I mean, what are you like? But that's the whole thing about why I'm trying to work on this area. People are imperfect. I am not a perfect person by any means. And even when I'm trying to be better, I can only do so much because I find new ways to mess up. I find new things to do wrong. But that's okay. I am enough as I am. And part of that journey is understanding that there is beauty in imperfection, that I don't have to be this absolutely perfect person for people to see me as valuable, for people to love me, for people to want to know me. And so, as I continue to write these statements, the objective is that it reduces my negative self talk. And part of that journey is understanding that I can change the way I talk to myself. And part of that is to, one, like I said, to understand some of the voices or some of the stories that we tell ourselves. Then it's to look at that story and say, how real is this? You know what? It's not as real as I thought it was. The other thing to think about is, if I was to talk to myself as a 3-year-old child, as a 6-year-old child, as a teenager going through awkward stages one after the other, I would have such love and compassion for that child, for that person I was. And I would say, you know what? You are good enough. And you know what? You are beautifully imperfect. You don't have to be perfect to be beautiful to me. And I think that that kindness, that understanding makes it more noticeable when in the moment, if something's gone wrong, if you've messed up, to sort of start to do that conversation with yourself where you're very negative about who you are, what you do, your entire existence. And to say, when you start on that spiral, to pull yourself up, to say, hang on a minute, is this helping me? Is this sort of destroying of my character by myself actually going to help me in this situation? Or can I show myself the same grace and understanding that I would show the child version of myself, or that I would show any one of my friends? I don't expect my friends to be perfect, so why should I be? I don't expect my friends to answer all my needs, to be absolutely at my beck and call, or to be perfect people themselves. Because if they were, I think they wouldn't be as much fun. There is fun in the imperfections. There is fun when we mess up, even if we mess up together. And so part of the journey is saying, you know what? I can change this talk. I hear it, I acknowledge it, I know where it comes from, but here's the counterpoint. It's okay. It doesn't matter. You know what? It's an opportunity to learn, and one day this might be a funny story you can tell somebody else. You can share your journey with others so that they can benefit from the same mistake that you did, or from the wisdom of how to get over this. So, moving forwards, one of the things that I would ask anybody who comes across this channel and is wanting to combat their negative thoughts, try to understand what they are first, then challenge them. They may have come about in ways to protect us. That's what most of our self-limiting beliefs are. They're a way to protect us as we are exploring a world we do not understand. But as our understanding grows, we need to continually relook at those points, to revisit them and say, are you helping me? And if you are not, I appreciate your support, but for now, I will try it another way. And then to every day to counteract those thoughts. Now, you can't do all of the thoughts at once. I think this is going to probably take me a number of years. Each year, I'll add on to another limiting belief until maybe I'll run out. But it's again, the repetitiveness is important. Every day saying I am enough was actually quite startling in the end. So I started this January the year before, so 2 years, a year and a half ago. And what surprised me was that it didn't come about all at once. I think I was maybe midway through the year, and I realized that I wasn't having as many negative thoughts as I normally did. And then I didn't journal for a little bit, and I realized that those thoughts started to come back through. And so, from what I thought, which is I call them affirmations, and to be honest, I really did go, oh, I'm doing affirmations. How weird. But in the end, I was so blown away by how repeating that statement consistently, I write it down and I say it. I am enough. And now I've added, I am beautifully imperfect. They start to stick to you. The repetitiveness sticks to you. And it means that I'm less likely when things are falling apart, when the other negative self talk comes through, to say, those aren't there as much. They're not as strong. And I have a little bit more strength in able to say to myself, that's not the case. That's not the story. Let's look at this. Let's stop catastrophizing. Let's stop making this the worst thing ever. Let's be realistic here. Yes, this has gone wrong. However, it's not the end. We can either forgive or, we can learn from this. What is it that we can take away from this experience without blaming ourselves? Or how can I make sure it doesn't happen again? Even like it is okay to mess up and for it to be my fault and for me still to be able to forgive myself. So with that, I hope that you can start to look at your own negative self-talk and challenge yourself. Like I said, don't try to do it all at once. You need to start softly and gently with this and give it time to work its way through, to start to be as part of who you are as the previous story that you told yourself. So, with that, thank you for your time. As always, if you would like to know more, if you have any other thoughts, if there's anything that you'd like to add to the conversation, please put it down in the comments. I do check them and would be more than happy to turn this into a conversation. So, with that, I thank you all very much. And until next week, bye.